All right. Welcome to the first class of our March 2025 grocery challenge. And I forgot to hit record. So I'm sorry. I'm going to give you a recap about what we talked about. So we have a challenge to spend less in March. We have tips and tricks and strategies to help manage your budget. One was asking if your spouse is on board. If they are, great. If they're not on board, just do the best with what you have. Do the best with what you have. You know what? It's hard enough to change ourselves, whether we want to lose weight, exercise more, learn a new skill. It's hard enough to change ourselves. It's nearly impossible to change somebody else. So if your spouse is not on board, give them grace, give them love, do the best with what you have. Don't nag or nitpick because that's going to have the opposite effect of what you want. Just enjoy doing the challenge and making the changes in you. Number two, if your spouse is, not on board, even if he is, hey, find a friend, get an accountability partner. That will help spur you on. We always do better when we have a teammate, when we have somebody else who has the same goals. So, surround yourself with the people that are going in the direction that you want to go. So that is number two. Number three, number three and four basically has to do with not wasting the little leftovers, little bits of veggies or meat, taking that and using it to, put on a pizza, make your own pizza, a DIY pizza night. And I did give a recipe for pizza dough. It's really pretty easy to make yourself. You don't have to go out and buy a frozen pizza, processed food. Getting the dough from the grocery store, you can make your own. Using those items for a breakfast omelet the next day. Waste not, want not. Use those things up. Don't throw them away. And if you do make a lot of food, just freeze it. Just to freeze it, and then you have something easy for a lunch or a dinner. All righty. So those are the basic recaps. Don't waste your food. And here is the big thing. Here is really the number one thing to do in this challenge other than tracking. You have your tracking sheet. Track every day to the best of your ability, but eat up the food you have. You don't go, you don't need to go out and buy more food if you have food in the fridge. There were statistics where about 30% of Americans' food budget goes in the trash. It's wasted or it's leftovers and people don't want to eat them. It goes in the garbage. Can you imagine if you could take 30% of your food budget from your last 10 years? Can you imagine how much money that would be? What would you do with it? Like, how would that be if that was even invested for your retirement? Don't throw it away. Use up what you have. Clean out the fridge. You don't want stuff spoiling. You might as well just throw the money in the garbage. So this is huge, huge, huge. Eat up everything in your refrigerator and your freezer before you go out to buy more. And you know what? You want to amp it up? Eat the stuff in your pantry before it expires. Wasted food. That's 30% of the typical American's budget. Wasted food, spoiled food, expired food. Eat it up. Some people won't even need to go to the grocery store once this month, and they'll still have food left over. So, that's a lot about mindset. People have a poverty mindset. Nothing is enough. I need to have more. I need to hoard more. I need to have 5 years worth of food and I need to have the refrigerator packed. The fact is you really don't. And the more willing you are to be uncomfortable, the more success you will have. The more willing you are to be uncomfortable, the more success you'll have. Let's say that one more time. The more willing you are to be uncomfortable, the more success you'll have. Get used to being a little uncomfortable. We're a little soft here. We have so much abundance, we don't even realize it. If you have a roof over your head, running water, and you don't have a dirt floor, you're richer than 90% of the world's population. Most people don't even realize that. We're even richer than kings of old. They may have had castles. They didn't have air conditioning, medicine, food on demand, in refrigerators, the luxuries. So we really have an overabundance. And on top of that, we have an overabundance, but most of us are debt slaves. We're not even free. We are slaves to who we owe money to. So, what are you going to do with what you saved this month? Are you going to pay down debt? Are you going to invest in retirement? What's your priority? Are you going to invest in your children's education? I don't know, but let's rein it in. Let's figure out what we really need. And I'm not about being frugal and Spartan. I am about being a good steward of the resources I have. And for this challenge, we're going to really try and see what do we really need. Now, when we talk about budgeting, I do have money set aside for a fun budget. All right, you want to tell your money where to go, what its job is. Some of my money, we get paid once a month. First job of that first little bit of money goes towards giving to the poor. God says in the Bible, I'm a woman of faith, his true religion is to take care of the poor, the orphan, and the widow. So my first thing is to give. Soon as I get it, I give the first portion to taking care of the poor, the widow, and the orphan. Second, I pay myself something to be invested for the future. And then is everything else. Then is the medical, the bills, um, expenses that you can't get around, the insurance. When all that is paid, what is left over will go to groceries and food, transportation. Some of that is earmarked for house maintenance. And then I definitely have a budget set aside for fun and travel. I like to call it FAT, F-A-T, fun and travel, because that's really the excess. If you buy a big steak, sometimes you're going to say trim off the fat, trim off the excess. So, but you still want a little for the flavor, don't you? So that that is that. We talked a little bit about the economy. Tariffs might be coming. Other countries have tariffs on American goods, but America doesn't have tariffs on any other country's goods. Will it cause inflation? It will probably result in some temporary inflation, so be prepared. So this is a great time to get your house in order, to figure out what do you really need to live on? What can you do so that you don't waste food, waste resources, waste money? Now is a really, really good time. Um, Inflation is not caused by tariffs, it's caused by printing of money. Talked a little bit about that. The American dollar used to be tied to the gold standard, and that you could not inflate because you can't print gold. There's only a certain amount. And Nixon took America off the gold standard. The American dollar was the world's reserve currency because everybody knew it was backed by gold and it couldn't be printed or inflated away. And when Nixon removed that, that's when inflation started happening. So it's definitely gotten worse. America is still the world's reserve currency. China is definitely trying to usurp that. And will it always be the world's reserve currency? Probably not. But it is now. Um, it might not be in the future. Who knows? It will be alive when that happens. But you got to take care of your own house. You got to do what you can do for yourself. Nobody else is going to do for you what you're not willing to do for yourself. So, don't wait for a politician to save you. Some of the things they do might make a few things easier, a few things more difficult. No one's coming to save you. That winning lottery ticket, hey, even if you got it, most lottery winners are broke 5 to 7 years after they get the winning ticket. So if you don't learn how to handle money now, you won't be handling it well when you get that lottery ticket. So if you get it, I don't play the lottery instead of just spending money for the lottery. I put that money into investments that will grow. So that's another class for another time. We had some great ideas about growing your garden, growing a garden, doing what you can. Uh, I've I like to call them my buy one, get one frees. If I buy pineapple, I can cut off the top and plant it, or green onions, or regular onions, or garlic. There's a lot of things that can regrow. We talked about composting. If you're composting, great. If you're not and want to try it, don't go out and buy any expensive composting stuff. Just put some bricks around, make something that looks like a fire pit, and just throw your stuff in there. Just throw your food scraps in there. Not like chicken bones or anything, vegetable scraps. Just throw it in there and then add some dried leaves. Look up on the internet how to have a good ratio of wet scraps with dry things. Rita had some great tips about bananas. If you take a banana and a banana peel and you put it in water, you can have a liquid that's a great fertilizer. So, in a nutshell, that's what you missed if you were not here tonight. Next Wednesday, we'll have another class. Think of some questions to ask. Ask them next Wednesday. Ask them in the group. And right now, focus on tracking. Track what you want to change. Track what you want to grow in. And see you next time. Or I will hit record next time and you can catch the replay. All right. Stay well and see you then.